Today's video is going to be about outlining and organization and why those two things are just so important for an effective public speaking opportunity, whether it's a recorded presentation, talking in a class, talking in a job interview, or any other format that you might engage, right? So first off, the big one, and I've mentioned this to several folks multiple times, especially in that early feedback I will give, is to avoid scripts. All right, I know, I get it. It's already stressful. You got the camera pointing at you, or an audience is going to be looking at you. Both are a source of pressure, right? Especially if you're not as comfortable in a public speaking context. And so the idea is I have a script, it can guide me. I'll know exactly what to say. I won't mess up my words, right? But it really doesn't work that well for a variety of reasons. Now, I'm not saying scripts can't be useful. In fact, professional public speakers will use scripts quite regularly, as well as, actors, politicians, folks who are used to presenting themselves. But how to read and deliver a script is a skill set all of itself. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's just one more thing. It's one more thing. So the idea that it's going to relieve your stress, it actually is much more likely to increase the stress, because then there's all of a sudden the pressure. You're not just speaking about this content that you probably know about, right? You have to then remember how exactly you want to say it, because there's 1,000 different ways to say the same thing for even simple things in our life, let alone more complex subjects, right? So you've got the script there just kind of hanging over your head, and you just want to read it. And then we start reading it, and then we get into that narrative voice, and all of a sudden our tone goes monotone and it doesn't shift, and then we're going to move to the next line, and there is no more effective way to really lose your audience, right? And so it's not that you can't learn to use a script, but early on, especially when you're just getting into communication practice, trying to find effective ways to make it work for you, realize the most important speaking engagements in a public context are gonna not allow you to have a script, all right? Job interview room, you can have a practice and prep, outline, absolutely, but not a dedicated script. Even when you're sitting face-to-face with an audience, you can technically have one, but it'll get in your way. And here's the reason, right? Even if you memorize it or you're really good, you got your outline. Right now, I've got my outline right over here. I can see my outline that keeps me organized, right? Bullet points with some subtopics in there, very short, concise, keeps me organized and knowing the main ideas I want to share, all right? But if it's a full script, I'm not paying attention to you anymore, even though I can't see you. I'm looking at my camera. I know there are people on the other side of that. I know this is going to be something my students or potential students are going to be watching, right? Or just anyone interested in communication, I guess. You are still there and you have my full attention. I'm thinking about how I can best share these ideas with you, not what did I write on the next line, right? Not like this, like okay, and then this is my next idea. What do I got going on here? Like, and it's so obvious, right? There's not just a difference in my eye contact, which is part of it, but my tone, my entire delivery method changed. So it's really important to practice and get confident and comfortable speaking without that script, because that will serve you. It'll just serve you better, right? It'll do better for you, and it'll give you this flexibility. If you're presenting, let's say you're presenting live, you got your audience right in front of you, and you can see that you're just not engaging them. Maybe you just had the unfortunate time slot where you're right before or after lunch, right? Everyone's full or too tired or hungry or whatever, right? Something's distracting them. Well, you can adjust on the fly. You can keep your content exactly the same, but you can adjust your tone and volume. You see everyone's kind of fading. Everyone's tired. Maybe it's been a long day and you see folks are fading. You can keep your content core the same, but go, you know what? Hey, I'm pretty exhausted. I bet all you are exhausted. I'm going to keep this as short as I can. I promise. And we're going to get out there and get some food. And here's what I wanted to share with you. And maybe just shorten it up a little bit or get to your point a little faster, right? Or maybe adjust your tone. You can slow it down a little. If you see people are looking a little confused and lost, that happens to me in my classes sometimes. I get excited. I start talking really fast. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. I have students doing the deer in headlights, like, oh my God, what's he saying? I missed it. And I'll slow it down and remind folks they can always ask me questions and adjust my pacing. That's a back and forth. Remember that constant dialogue is happening. Communication is always happening. And if you have that flexibility, you can make use of that. All right. And this is especially true in events like the interview room, which we'll be practicing at the end of the semester. The interview room, that's that public speaking event that it's the highest stakes, consistent event that no matter what job you do, you're going to want to practice and prepare your skills for, right? And being able to speak extemporaneously like this, structured, organized, but not on a script, is the core skill set to being successful, no matter how much experience or knowledge you have in an interview room And I would argue the same when you're trying to engage your clients as well if you want to start your own business. Really, it's just like the interview room over and over and over again with different customers and clients, right? Okay, so outlining, short, concise, to the point. We want to have the main point be the focus, the main point and the supporting points that lead our audience to support that point. I'm going to get to the main point in a second, but on the supporting points note, I just want to clarify, you're never going to cover everything, all right? You're going to hit your major points and you're going to understand some things are going to be left unsaid, especially working in the time window given to you for whatever speaking engagement you have, whether it's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever. There's always points getting left unsaid, right? And that's okay. Main points engage interest. You're not trying to get everything done in one presentation. Just get the thought processes going and then follow up. Might be able to clarify. The main point is what you're here for. And it's really important. Step one of your main point, whatever it is not, I have to be here and say words, all right? And that sounds silly, but a lot of times that's kind of our main point if we're being honest with ourselves, right? I have to be up here and do this speech. I have to record this video to get through this class. My boss made me come up here and say this stuff, right? That comes through. So much of what we don't say will come through no matter what we do, unless once again, you train to be a very talented actor, right? Most of us aren't going to do that. What you say and what you don't say will communicate a great deal. So just be interested and engaged in your subject. Have a point that you actually believe in, all right? Make that core to any professional speaking goal. And maybe the overarching, maybe if you're talking about, you're doing an introduction speech and you're like, what do I believe in here? Well, you believe in human connection, right? Or you believe in maybe you're passionate about literature or the work you do or your family or the games you play or whatever. Something in there's a passion of yours. There you go. You want to deliver that passion. You want to focus on connecting. And maybe you're required to do it as a speech in a class. Maybe you're required by your boss. But if you find a value that you believe in, that will come through. And you don't need to construct that. You don't need to be like, my shoulders need to be here and my eyes need to be here and I need to have my tone up or down or wherever. It just happens. It happens because you believe it. And your nonverbals will then reinforce that belief and you have to do nothing. And I'm going to talk more about nonverbals in the next video, but that is the best way to deliver a speech. Have a goal, a clear goal that isn't just I have to be here, that you really believe in, that you are communicating when you share. And that's the entire point of your outline, is an organized approach to show you didn't just turn the camera on and start talking. I would never do that. You knew what you wanted to say, at least in the key goals and objectives when you turned on that recording device and started talking. That will come through to your audience. It shows you respect their time. It will communicate value and help you connect. All right. So that's it for this video. More in the next.